Respect. Anyway, here is Fox and Friends talking about AOC.
React from the financial perspective, the author of Making Money, also known as the Money Man, Fox Business Charles Payne. Charles, another $7.7 billion into our debt.
Yeah, and Peter said they're trying to help to address inflation. This is one of the things, the gimmicks that stokes inflation.
Yeah.
Think about that 3-year period when no one had to pay their student loans. The households had student debt. Their debt went up. They didn't have to pay their student loans. So what did? They went out and spent it. When everyone's spending a lot of money that they're not earning, that stokes inflation. And then on top of it, it is so unfair. Again, listen, it's so interesting. There's 2 separate programs, and it's hard to get the details because they give them these names like low income, yada, yada. But let's just say the low income version of this, right, is $1.6 billion out of $1.6 trillion.
Thank you, Money Man. It's never the corporations, right? It's never the corporations doing greedflation, right? It's just people having more disposable income that's bad. I love Fox News because they're like, we love the American working class. And you know what the American working class needs? Austerity. And then so many dummies eat that shit up. And they're like, hell yeah, you're right, brother. I do deserve less money in my pocket.
To me, it underscores the fact that most people who have college degrees in this country are the most blessed people on the planet. They will live longer. They will make millions of dollars more than their American counterparts, millions and millions of dollars more than anybody else on the planet. Their kids will live in less violent neighborhoods, and that they will live a better quality of life. They don't need bailouts.
That's really funny. So the answer should be making sure that everyone has American college education? No. He's not wrong, I know, but his suggestion is fucking insane. Like, initiatives such as the one Biden is championing here, debt reduction for student loan debt holders, is an objectively good thing. It is actually in the direction of making college more affordable, if not free. He literally just described how good it is and how good it would be if there were more educated workers in the broader American working class, only to basically say, no, the goal should be to make it impossible to pay for college so that there are less college educated workers.
Well, the court said you can't do this.
The court, and it's, by the way, unilateral.
Congress.
And it's in Congress. So I hear people like, I'm worried about Donald Trump being a dictator. You mean ignoring the Supreme Court and trampling Congress? You mean that kind of a dictator?
Right. So, Charles, the big question is, and Peter was just talking about how these people who've got the student loans, they get an email that says, hey, your debt's been forgiven. I wonder if any of the student protesters who were arrested or were suspended, will they still have their debt forgiven as well?
So far, they're not going to penalize anyone. If any of them qualify, they'll definitely get more taxpayer money.
That's insane. They're fantasizing. They're like, no, we need to punish them further. Arresting them and beating them up wasn't enough for the crime of saying Israel bad. They should be saddled with lifelong debt that is, and debt relief that is given to others should not be given to them. I love the First Amendment, by the way. I love free speech.
More taxpayer relief.
Where are we getting the money to pay for this?
We just throw it on the pile.
Bring some more.
Another trillion here, another trillion there. So they keep piling it up.
Really, Money Man? Is that how it's going on? I thought he was the knowledgeable economist here. What the fuck does he mean? We're getting it from the same pile for endless war coffers. It's fake. We print it.
I love that President Trump is going to be giving a speech in the Bronx. I think that Joe Biden should go to Oklahoma and Nebraska and just try to make this one country for a change. Tell us your message.
At the very least, stop demonizing quote-unquote MAGA voters as if they're some foreign entity, enemy of the United States. He speaks about half this country as if they're our mortal enemy.
I know, it's just a huge problem.
They're neighbors.
AOC was asked about the president's going to the Bronx, and this is which he surmised.
He's hosting a rally to try to con people and try to fleece them out of every dollar that they have to fund his own legal fees. And by the way, he's doing it in the South Bronx not to make a point, but because he's got court. And the man practically has the legal version of an ankle bracelet around him, and he can't leave the 5 boroughs because he always has to be in court. And so it is truly an embarrassment to him. And I am looking forward to the response of everyday Bronxites talking about how they feel about him coming to their backyard.
Bronxites?
Isn't this the person that ran Amazon out of her district?
Right. Not only that, though, the irony is that she would not be in Congress if the third highest ranking Democrat wasn't so arrogant and that he didn't even go campaign. So she understands the importance of campaigning. You know what? Listen, I have a lot of relatives.
Bro, Trump won 16% of the Bronx vote. 15.9 to be exact. He's not going there to campaign. AOC's right. He's going there because he can't go anywhere else. I guess technically he could go to like Staten Island or some shit. So the point is he's going to Bronx to make a statement, I suspect, about how he's going to be like, I'm just like you, just like all the blacks and all the browns being prosecuted by the government falsely. Make me president for that reason so I can continue doing that.
In the South Bronx. I was on the board of a charter school in the South Bronx, and I'm thrilled President Trump is going there. I wish he would go to Harlem. 2 Mondays ago, my niece was shot on the street that I grew up on. My niece was shot on the street that I grew up on. She doesn't even hang out there. She doesn't even live on the block anymore, but a good friend of mine I've known for 45 years, her son passed away, and they were having a memorial for him. And so these guys, the gang violence is on the rise so much, it's so underreported. So they come around with the mask. The shooting crazy. The third floor apartment was all busted up.
Were they looking for somebody in particular?
Yeah, another gang guy. But she had 4-hour surgery. She's okay now. She went home 2 days ago. And then Cookie, who was shot also, she's gone home.
Who's Cookie?
The other girl. The 2 of them were shot. Okay. And so Cookie's the one I've known for 45 years. I went to go visit them both in Harlem Hospital. But it's just, you know, our country is.
Which is why we literally can't do anything about gun control. We must not under any circumstance do something about the millions, well, more guns than there are people in this country. Hundreds of millions of guns in circulation.
It's really getting so cracked apart where the haves are doing extraordinarily well. Right. And again, they live in safety and they live in, they eat their avocado toast, and the rest of us, whether it's in places where the opioid epidemic is out of control, or places like my neighborhood was being gentrified, but this gang thing has really been amazing. I had no idea it was this bad. It's really bad.
You know what's going to happen? These illegal immigrants are gangsters. Yeah. They're going to start fighting American gangs.
They're intertwined. They're intertwined. A buddy of mine in the Bronx, he talked about a lot of illegal immigrants have joined up with certain other, folks. They're all intertwined in these gangs. No one will report on it, but it's really bad.
Charles, can you explain the black male support with Donald Trump? Because there seems to be a divide.
I'm not surprised. I saw this coming in so many ways. And I try to explain it to people all the time. There's two things. Older black people, right, like my mother's age, if she passed away, but who they grew up in a time of immense fear. I remember going to Alabama as a kid in the 60s and walking down the road. You could feel it. Even though I was a kid, you could feel there was a palpable fear. There was a blind woman, a white woman who owned this store. It was a shack. She was blind. Coins everywhere. No one stole anything. And I said to myself, even as a kid, someone must have been lynched or something. But there was palpable fear, right? So they grew up with that. My grandmother, she didn't sleep with a pillow. She slept with her arms crossed. She had to have both ears open. She was always afraid the night riders would come and she wanted to hear them.
Oh, my goodness.
There's that group. Then you have young folks, right? My son's 27, so for the last few years I've been listening to music. When they hear Rick Ross and Drake and these guys talking about owning things, they're arguing over who works the hardest. Right. And they don't want public housing, they don't want free housing, they don't want free food. They want the American dream.
What? I mean, he's trying to explain that, like, it's actually younger black voters. Not the youngest demographic, but younger black voters who no longer see a reason to fucking vote. Younger black male voters who no longer see a reason to vote for the Democratic Party in the way that older black voters still will maintain party loyalty as a direct consequence of experiencing the civil rights movement. And that bears itself out in the data, but I guess he's trying to fucking describe it in this weird way. It's basically, it's ultimately marginal, but the more removed you are from the direct impact of the Voting Rights Act, the less likely you are to vote for the Democratic Party. Because it's one of the last times that the Democrats have actually done something for black people, like with tangible results. That's it.
So particularly young black men, and listen, and they're being shut out. They're being shut out by progressives. Progressives who own corporations, they're discriminating against black people, black men. Look at Hollywood. That will tell you everything you need to know. Black women are always now in these movies where, without a black father figure, without a black lover, right, the black male has been pushed out by progressives. And they are looking for someone they can look up to. And more they see Donald Trump as someone, hey, I want what he's got.
Sure. I think that you look up Charles Payne.
Yeah. Well, listen, talking about the Bronx, you had a great interview with a fellow by the name of Lou Valentino on Monday. He had this observation about the former president heading up for that gathering in the Bronx.
Or you can just listen to what he had to say, that young black men are looking up to Donald Trump as a father figure. It must be that, and not the thing that I said, which is that the last time the Democratic Party did something like tangible for the black community is so fucking long ago that every generation removed from that tangible thing that the Democratic Party did for the black community leads to less voter enthusiasm. You know, it's probably not what I'm saying. It's probably what he's saying that's correct. My favorite thing also is, like, obviously none of this matters because Republicans don't give a shit about courting the black vote. They'll take it, but they're not going to, like, advocate for, you know, anything that's positive for the black community because their most significant, most loyal base of support are fucking white supremacists. So obviously they'll just, like, flex on the Democrats and be like, lol, see, the blacks, they're voting for us, or some type of shit like that. But that's it. Anyway.
Bronx tomorrow night. Listen.
I think the Democrats have been dropping the ball. I mean, you see crime, you see a woman being dragged.
Bro, that's the same guy. It's the one guy. Further confirming, it's the one guy. He was wearing the Rangers hat earlier. Bro. They found one fucking dude and they're like, you're our guy.
with a belt. You see all type of stuff happening in the Bronx, and they're just gaslighting it, acting like it's not happening. So I just think it's the perfect opportunity for people to speak up. And a lot of bad things are happening. A lot of people can't afford groceries. And Trump is speaking to those people in those barbershops or people that just can't afford this lifestyle that they had probably 4 to 5 years ago. So this is just, I think, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity. The fact that Trump is going there to a spot that is deep blue, that should send a deep message to Republicans once again. Step up your game.
It's a great message. However, you know, we're all impacted by the same thing, and that's the economy.
Is this dude Dominican?